Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose of Metal Nation. We're here on Metal Nation Radio today with our good friend Sam Nyman of Manimal. How is everything in your world, sir?
Couldn't be better, I must say. It's Friday today and got the whole weekend in front of me, and we just released our new album.
And what a fantastic album it is. Purgatorio came out a few weeks ago, right around the time I think you guys were doing ProgPower. Thank you for not making us wait 6 years this time.
No, we thought we better speed things up because it's not good for anybody to wait such long time that we did between our first and second album. Yeah, but we found a way to keep the writing process a bit faster and without necessarily cutting down on our high standards when it comes to what we want to release. Yeah, I'm happy we made it in only 3 weeks, 3 years. Sorry.
Well, we're glad you did because it's a fantastic record. But before we talk about Purgatorio, let's talk ProgPower. Tell us about that experience.
Oh, it was absolutely awesome. It was our first time in the United States, and I must say it was beyond our expectations. We played as the first band on Friday, 2 p.m. In the afternoon, and we thought, well, center stage is half full. We must be happy with that and satisfied. That would be great if it's half full. And I must say the place was almost packed. Yeah, people were crazy, raising their fists and singing along and clapping along. It was beyond our wildest expectations, I must say.
Yeah, other than the travel difficulties coming and going, right?
Well, yeah, that is another story.
And you played a good mix from all 3 records at ProgPower, including 4 from Purgatorio. Was it difficult to sort of choose the set list for your first U.S. show?
Yeah, I must say, because we wanted to play more songs from the new album. We really wanted that, but we must respect that since the album was released the very same day as our show at ProgPower, you must respect that people want to hear the songs that they have been able to listen to, and dig into. So we played the 3 singles. And we also added one more song to that, and the rest of the set was old songs. From now on, we will probably add some more of the songs from the new album, because we think that there are a bunch of great songs that we want to try to perform live and see how they work.
Yeah, it's an excellent album. Why not? So before we jump onto the album, real quickly, you got to play first, which means you got to pretty much see everybody else. Who were you most excited to see perform?
Well, I wanted to see our friends in Eclipse. So I saw them, and they always deliver. I saw them when they just had released their latest album. I saw them in Gothenburg, back home. So I wanted to see them again, and I also, I would say our Swedish friends, which we have, which we know and have played with before, like band like Bloodbound as well. It's always entertaining to see those guys, and also I was looking forward to see Sons of Apollo, and that was great experience to get to see all these legends live on stage. Also, we watched some. We were able to watch some of the Doro set.
Right.
She's also a legend in the genre. So it's always fun to see her, and she's got a great aura when she's on stage. You can see that she's still enjoying what she's doing.
I know the band I would have loved to have seen, Ida from Triosphere. Ida
yeah,
from Triosphere.
It was so sad. We missed their show. I was doing interviews at the hotel at that time, so I missed their show. But I got time to speak a little bit with Ida the day before. But sadly we missed them. But I heard many people who was there watching the show said that it was great. Yeah.
So let's talk about the new album, Purgatorio. You had the same lineup for this record. Did that offer sort of a comfort level going in?
Yeah, for sure. Everybody has contributed in this album in some way. I would say that Henrik, he's still our mastermind when it comes to songwriting. If he's not writing the whole songs, he's at least doing the main foundations of the song. I contribute with some vocal harmonies as well as lyrics. But also Andre's been more involved, our drummer, Andre. He's been more involved with the lyrics writing on this album. So he helped me out a lot with the lyrics. And he's great with words. So I was very happy that he wanted to contribute. Kenny, besides contributing with his bass playing and also with producing some of the keyboard arrangements, he also did the whole final mix of the album, which turned out awesome. Kenny is so talented when it comes to working with sound and vision, because he also has produced our two latest music videos. So I would say that everybody has contributed on this album, and probably that's one reason we managed to cut the time between the albums in half. Now we know each other so good. We have done 2 European tours together and several single shows together and stuff, so we know each other's strengths and we can use that in the band.
Yeah, it's more like a band now that you've had time to gel together. It's like a little mini family and everything, and you can hear that coming through and see it with everything that you've done with the record. So
yeah, I think so as well. Yeah.
So now, speaking of Andre helping with the lyrics and everything, this isn't a concept album, but the Dante Alighieri title reference and imagery seem to point towards an underlying theme on this one.
Well, we had no idea of a concept album or a theme going through the whole album. But when we analyzed some of the songs and the lyrics, it turned out that there are some main themes of the album, even though it's not maybe one theme, but it's a couple of themes that points in the same direction. I tend to end up writing a lot about mental illness, and so I've been doing that in the past, and I've kept on doing that. Probably it's because it's something that affects us all more or less. If you don't have it around you in your family or your friends or working mates or anything, you maybe come in contact with it through social media when you read about famous people and artists who pass away because of mental illness. They take their lives and stuff. So I think we're all affected in one or the other way, more or less. I think it's important to speak about it, and therefore I tend to my lyrics tend often to point in that direction. And also, obviously, I can't deny it, but when Henrik delivers riffs which are very melancholy and heavy and hard, it's very hard the first words coming to my mind is not about love and happiness, it's a natural reaction from me, and so I get all these dark thoughts and stuff, and I try to write them down, and it tends to be about mental illness. And Andre brought some interesting things to the table, which inspired to the album artwork as well. Some historical themes about the Black Plague and stuff, it really turned out very well, and it's something we will use in the future as well.
It's interesting, just looking at the 3 album titles that you've had, Trapped in the Shadows, The Darkest Room, and Purgatorio, they all do lend to that being, the mental illness thing and being, like, alone and dealing with this, But speaking of which, while Trapped in the Shadows seemed like an evolution of your sound after The Darkest Room, Purgatorio feels like more of a continuation of what Shadows was. Tell us about the album from your perspective.
Basically, we've always been doing music which we like to listen to ourselves. And I think that is so important because that, I think that shines through your performance. You can hear it on the albums, and you certainly can hear it in a live context. Yeah, basically that what we are doing. When people, they hear a lot of Judas Priest in our songs, they hear a lot of German power metal with bands like Halloween and Gamma Ray, and they hear Queenstrike, and that is never been something that we have tried to deny or something, because that is music we love, you know. That is the music we grow up to, and the music we still listen to. And I think our music is some kind of mixture of that, and yeah, our version of how we think that heavy metal should sound like, and yeah, how heavy metal music which we like to listen to ourselves. And so we have never had any special idea of a sound or a concept. It's just the way it sounds, our music, when we create it. And I would say Henrik basically has ideas of, I want this song to be heavy, and I want this song to be fast, and this song should be straightforward. So he has often some basic ideas of each song, but how that goes from there to what it sounds like in the end is often his emotions, that particular moment when he's writing that riff. I think that often decides how the actual song will sound like. Right. So the basic idea is to make music we like to listen to ourselves, because I think that is the most honest way to write music. And I think as an artist, you hope for other people to like it, but if you try to make music you think that people will like, I think that you can hear that can turn out to be pretty dishonest, and often that you can hear that in the music. And so we try just to stick with our own emotions and what we like to listen to ourselves.
Right. And you guys do have a very genuine sound, and it is a nice amalgamation of your various influences. And speaking of which, you guys went right for the jugular on the opener, Black Plague, which has that sort of Judas Priest Painkiller vibe, and it's a perfect album opener. But then you dig into this mammoth title track. Tell us about the song Purgatorio, because there's a lot going on there.
I know that Henrik said that, hey, I want to do a song that sounds like Camelot hit, you know? And so I know that not many people have commented on this. I think maybe one of the reviews we read that somebody was picking up the influence Camelot when it came to that song. But yeah, so I think that was Henrik's main idea. Hey, Camelot's got all these great songs, you know, up-tempo, melancholy, yet at the same time they are popish, and you know, so he wanted to catch that feeling and put in the context of a Manimal song. And I think that was Henrik's main idea of the song, and we went from that. And Henrik had a chorus melody pretty much finished when he presented the song to me, and also he wanted to the song to start with the same chorus harmony but played on guitar, and at the same time he wanted it to have parts which were he's always afraid that the songs will become a bit too happy and a bit corny, you know, so he tries to balance it with heavy parts and dark parts, you know, to try to balance it. And I think me and Henrik, we have very similar view of how we want our music to sound and what kind of music we like to listen to ourselves, because both me and Henrik, we have sometimes hard listening to music which is too happy, you know, and if it gets too dark and too melancholy, we have problems with that as well. So we try to mix it up in our own music. Yeah, so I think this is more or less Purgatorio. The title track is more or less Henrik's tribute to Camelot, a band that we both like a lot, you know, and been listening to a lot, and that was the main inspiration, I know, for that song. Yes.
It's difficult for me to pick a personal favorite on the record because every day I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, I dig this and I love that. But one that I'm really enjoying right now is The Fear Within, which kind of closes it all out. What's the story for that one?
That song was the hardest song to write on the whole album. That the bridge and the chorus for that song was the very last thing to be written on the whole album. I think maybe it was one of the first songs we started to work with, and Henrik presented the intro. You got this King Diamond inspired intro on the song, and he presented it to me, and I added the verse. I had some ideas of a melody, of a harmony for the vocals, and I had some words for the lyrics as well. But I think we tried maybe 10 different versions of a bridge and a chorus, and we didn't find the right feeling for it. So therefore, we just pushed the problem in front of us, you know. We finished all the other songs, and we still had this last song left, even when we started recording. So me and Henrik, we finished the bridge and the chorus while we were recording the album. So it was times when we thought that, hey, this song will never be finished. We have to skip it for the album. But at the same time, we loved the rest of the song, the verses, and Henrik had the stick ready as well. It was finished and it sounded awesome. We said, hey, this song is too good to go in the thrash, you know. We have to finish it. We have to find a way to do the bridge and the chorus, which fits the song. Yeah, I don't know if it was the pressure that we felt in the 11th hour that made us finally find a solution, which it turned out great. I agree with you. It's a great song, and I know that when we brought it to the studio, Kenny was doing the final mixes of the album, and I brought the final vocal takes to the studio and said, hey, Kenny, here's the vocals for The Fear Within. And he said that this is the best vocal performance of the whole album, he thought. And yeah, so obviously it was the right decision to keep the song and to try to finalize it and finish it.
It's funny you answered two questions with one, because my follow-up question was going to be, were there any songs on the album that sort of changed when you brought them in and took on a life of their own, or that really challenged you? And obviously this was the one. So
yeah, and always, before you start recording, you got all these demo recordings and stuff, and you got your favorites among the songs. But once you start record them, and they are starting to take maybe slightly different directions, and when you proceed with the final mixes of the album, our experience at least is that some of your favorites may not be your favorites when the album is finished, because some of the songs that you thought that, hey, this is a good song, but it's not among the best songs of the album. But some of the songs they grow in the final mix and of the album, and yeah, so we have found ourselves often, before we start the final mix of the album, we have our own favorites of the album, but after the mix of the album, you have reconsidered that, and you found other favorites of the album, and it was this very same this time.
So before we get out of here, I want to take you back. It's been a decade since you created the first album, The Darkest Room. The 10-year anniversary is looming this coming year. Can you take us back and tell us your memories of making the first record?
I remember when I recorded my parts, my wife was at the hospital. She had just given birth to our firstborn child, and I know that I felt so guilty leaving her there, but we had booked the studio. It was booked and paid for, and then so I had to leave her for a couple of hours doing my vocal takes in the studio and going back, and that is maybe my strongest memory of that album. But I would say everything was new back then, and we were not 100% sure what we were doing, and then we got a lot of help from the guys in the studio, of course, but it was a great experience, and I still, this day, I love listening to the album, and you have to see it for what it is. It was her first album, and I think it's almost like you said, it's been 10 years since then, and obviously all of us have developed as musicians and songwriters, and therefore you must not compare the albums to each other, because it's not fair. We were on a different level back then, but still one of my favorite songs to perform live until this day is the title track from the first album, The Darkest Room. And I think that is a song that probably stick with us for the rest of our career, because it's still a great song to perform. It's a great song, and it works so well in a live context. And also another song that we kept from the first album that we still play live today is Human Nature. It may not be one of the strongest songs of the album, but it works so well in a live performance, in a live context. It got this groove, Some of the songs I listen to and think, hey, I would have done this much better today. But I think I try not to think like that, because it's almost 10 years ago, and hopefully you have some kind of development during the years when it comes to your musicianship, and we have that, all of us, I think, and especially as songwriters. I try just to listen to it and take it for what it is, and try not to compare it with the other albums or with other artists, for that matter.
From the first album, I still love Spine Grinder. I play it all the time. So,
all right, we get a lot of requests until this day. We get a lot of requests that people want to hear us play Spine Grinder live, and we did that for a long time because we thought it was a great song to play live as well. But nowadays we have reconsidered it, and we think it's maybe a little bit too slow. Yeah, sure, it's heavy, but it's a bit slow. But I think maybe we have to reconsider this, because it's not only you. We have many requests during the years that, hey, why didn't you play Spine Grinder? Oh, I would love to hear Spine Grinder, So I think we have to reconsider this and try to listen to other people and not just ourselves, when it comes to this song. We will have that in mind, Rustin, I promise.
Awesome. Sam Nyman, Manimal, the new album Purgatorio, fantastic. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your hectic schedule to chat with us. The record is fantastic, and we hope to get a chance to see you on the other side of the pond at some point.
Thank you so much, Rustin.
Take care, my friend.